X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it.
Thank you for listening and watching the MindMeld podcast with Dave Perry. I am Dave Perry. This is the MindMeld podcast. This is our first episode ever over Zoom, which is fun. I think we're in a good position to be able to get some quality audio recording out of the setup that we have here. And I wanted to be able to do this today because we have a very cool guest who is in Texas with me, but in a different city. Texas is a gigantic place. We are joined by Dr. Robb Kelly. Dr. Robb, do you mind if first of all, is it cool to call you Dr. Robb?
Yes, everyone calls me that. Yep.
All right, sounds good. Do you mind if I just read your short bio here on your websites? So I'm going to just give you an introduction that way, and then I just want to dive into all things about what you're doing out there with helping people during some pretty crazy times. But so this is from your website, robbkelly.com. But Robb Kelly, PhD, the recovery expert, was born in Manchester, England. He grew up in a family of musicians and developed a strong love for music at an early age. He was performing on stage at the age of 9. During his early 20s, he worked at the elite and influential Abbey Road studios as a session musician in London, which is definitely something I want to dig into a little bit with you if you're cool with that. Addiction was always close to his heart, as Dr. Kelly was born into a family that had a history of alcoholism. He began drinking and using drugs at an early age, but he managed to stay on a path of success, moving to Oxford in the early 1980s to pursue a PhD in psychology at the prestigious University of Oxford. He continued to drink heavily during his time in Oxford, but still managed to complete his doctorate studies, graduating with a PhD in psychology in 1984. Even though he was a heavy drinker, no one would have predicted that he could be living on the streets of Manchester, homeless and alone. He recalls the night where he had a staggering revelation when it came to his own alcoholism. It would later coin two of his most popular catchphrases, which is "the problem is not our drinking, it is our thinking," and "step out of the disease and into the solution," which I really like both of those. Want to talk about that as well. Dr. Kelly was standing on a street corner one night in Manchester, and his body was shaking from alcohol withdrawal. He stood in front of a liquor store, trembling, desperately waiting for the store to open. He knew that as soon as he drank that first sip of alcohol, he would feel relief. As soon as the liquor store opened, he rushed into the store. The clerk grabbed a bottle of vodka from the shelf and placed it in a brown paper bag in front of him. As he lifted the bag in his hands, his trembling stopped. His body stopped shaking and his mind rested at ease. He had not even taken that first sip. It was just the promise of alcohol that stopped his shaking and eased his restless mind. That is really phenomenal. And you call that the aha moment, correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's the time when I realized that it wasn't the alcohol. And that's what set me off onto, I mean, when it comes to the alcoholic brain, the addictive brain, I don't think there's anyone who's done more research than I have. I've spent the last 25 years. I went back to college and got a second PhD with behavioral science because we missed that part. So yeah, I'm very, very, very intrigued with the mind, and that all started it off.
Absolutely. I'm curious, that almost, not to make light of it at all, but like that premise almost seems like something on like an HBO or show or something. Like I would certainly hope that if I was dealing with any sort of struggle, that I'm dealing with a professional who's not only an expert in their field, but can actually like empathize with what I am like physically, emotionally, chemically, everything going through. Do you feel like you have, are you in like a special subsect of professionals that have gone through this struggle themselves? And does that position you to be able to help people better?
100%. I mean, I always tell people all the time, if you've got a problem with drugs or alcohol, and you want to see a counselor, make sure that he has a problem with drugs and alcohol, or had done. Nobody understands. Alcoholism and addiction is the number one misunderstood illness in the world. Alcoholism is definitely the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. So 10 DUIs, guys, does not make you an alcoholic, unfortunately. So when you go through all the stuff and the struggles and the loss of kids and the homelessness and the violence and all that stuff, you realize that when you sat in front of somebody, it seems that no matter what they're going through, I can identify because I've either done it or I've worked with some of this that's gone through that. So yeah, a big connect, because the mirroring part of the brain is what it's all about on a daily basis. Sure. When you connect with somebody, you connect for a reason. And it's the mirroring part of the brain. So when somebody sits in front of me and I tell them a little about my story, they can identify, I can identify, we're off to the races. It would take a normal therapist at least 3 months to get to where we get to in 30 minutes. That's the connection we have.
That's incredible. I'm inclined to think that even if the average medical professional did have these personal struggles, that maybe they wouldn't be as ready to share that with patients, and that they would want to focus more on like, I'm a certified professional, I have X amount of years of experience, I've helped XYZ amount of people, and that even if they did have that struggle, I completely agree with you. I would want to know that they can actually relate with what I'm going through, not just because of textbooks or what they've seen with other people. I want to know that they can relate to the demons that I'm currently fighting. Do you feel like it would be uncommon for a medical professional to admit that? And would you recommend people seeking help that they actually inquire about this when they get a chance to connect with them?
I think so. I think if I have a therapist, the first thing I ask her when I go to see her the very first time is, have you had a problem with alcohol and drugs in the past? And she said, yeah. Let me tell you about my story. So what a lot of people do in the 21st century, especially 2021, is most therapists, licensed therapists, are dropping the license and becoming a coach. The reason is twofold. One is because you can get more involved with the patient and say, hey, listen to my story. And the second is you can't do telehealth. As a psychologist, I can't practice in Florida unless I get a license in every state, which is not allowed. So many people are doing that so they can identify more. So if you just want to stop taking drugs and you think you're taking it too much or you're abusing alcohol, normal therapists are fine. But if you're an alcoholic, a full-blown alcoholic or a full-blown drug addict, then you need that connection. And most people I know I do, and most doctors I know and coaches, when somebody comes in struggling to the practice, they will identify and go, oh yeah, well, I kind of went through a little bit of that myself. And that's all it needs to get that connection, because people do not want to tell other people about addiction. It's the quiet, horrible disease. Yeah. And slowly but surely we're coming out. And one of my biggest things when I came over to the US 15 years ago was, let's get it out of the closet, guys. Now, I've worked with some of the biggest movie stars, footballers, actors, TVs, whatever it is, multi-billionaires, doctors, scientists, surgeons, and whenever they can, I always say, would you come out and just write a little message on my website?
Sure.
And we used to do that because more people are coming out, because you can bet when that surgeon went back working again, he identified with 3 other more people that shouldn't be. It was drunk in the operating room. Oh, wow. He would mentor, and that's how it goes. That's the way it works.
Sure. Quick note. So this is the first time that you and I have had face-to-face conversation, and it occurred to me. So I would say 100% of the times when I do interviews, I drink, and I do have alcoholics in my family. I personally don't feel like I struggle with anything in that realm, but I do enjoy drinking when I have either these conversations or even, I casually drink on the weekends. It gives you that kind of like liquid courage, loosens you up or whatever. And it was an interesting feeling that I had, that basically I felt it would have been inappropriate to drink during this conversation. So I'm curious about okay.
That's another method as well with, if you're still struggling from alcoholism, it's best to stay away from alcohol for the first week or so till you get well or start to get well. My biggest bugbear is when people don't drink in front of me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, well, I didn't want to, you might. I ain't gonna look. I'm allergic to it. Yeah, are you allergic to anything? I'm allergic to cheese. Good. That means I can't eat cheese in front of you. That's stupid. Same with alcohol. The same with alcohol.
Sure.
The compulsion to destroy myself has been taken away. That's all it is. I love, my wife drinks. Not much, and not only many K, but she drink. I mean, I love it when people drink around me, because that's your deal. If you've got alcoholism in the family, it can skip a generation or two. If you can drink successfully without stabbing somebody or killing somebody or battering your wife, then, if you get up for work next morning and go to work and be that good guy, then hell yeah. I wish I could do that. I really do.
Sure. Absolutely.
In my early days, but I can't, because when I take the first drink, you'll find me 3 months later in Spain. That's just the way my mind works. I black out from drink one.
And there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that share that struggle, right?
Yes.
I'm curious where do you draw the line between it's your completely normal, healthy, whatever the word you want to use is, an acceptable level of social drinker? And then like, what are the telltale signs and what are they associated with? Is it frequency, duration, whether you drink by yourself, it's you're blacking out, it's quantity, where do you draw the line of, I think this is a problem now?
Well, the gateway drug is trauma. So I wanted to repeat that again.
Sure.
So you have to look at yourself. There's a defining line between, and I went through the normal drinking, heavy drinking, abuse, and then alcoholism, because every alcoholic that's born that way will do that. So it's about looking at your traits, looking at your trauma, looking at you as a person, and honestly asking yourself, if you have to ask somebody, do I have a drink problem? You probably have a drink problem. So just cut down, try and be sensible, and then get back to it. The worst thing in the world you can do is not drink because you think you have a drink problem, only to find out when you're 50 or 60 that you don't. Can
you elaborate on that? That's curious.
Yeah. So I have a few people that came to me, and your dad used to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, so they did. Dad was an alcoholic, so they thought they were, and dad was convincing them because he wanted someone to go to AA with them. And he came to me after about 6 or 7 years. He was only like 25 when he came, and he said, I don't know whether I'm an alcoholic or not. I said, well, can you go for a beer now and go home and leave it for a week? And he said, yeah. I said, well, you're probably not alcoholic then. He could become a very successful guy, drinks on the weekends, has a few glasses of wine with his wife during the week. I mean, this is what it's about. I mean, you're born this way or you're not.
Sure.
There's no, a warning off the doctor does not make you an alcoholic. Again, the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. Nobody can tell you're an alcoholic. It's not how much we drink. It's not the time we drink. What happens when that chemical gets into my body? I have a reaction both from the central nervous system and the brain. You see, I'm not allergic to alcohol. I'm allergic to the ethanol in alcohol that reacts differently to my brain, just like a normal reaction would be cheese. You might come out in hives, you might get sick. I can't stop drinking until I'd be taken to hospital or a psych ward. It's the same difference. So there are different traits that you can actually look for, but hey, chill out, guys. Don't worry, just because I'm on the show talking about alcoholism, you don't have to question yourself.
Sure.
You know deep down inside if you're drinking too much.
It's very interesting. I feel like a lot of people come from a pretty uninformed or misinformed perspective on this. I'm curious what your perspectives are on people who come from one or two, like violently alcoholic, like unquestionable. These people are a fucking mess, and they err on the side of caution. Like, would you recommend just removing that from your life if possible, or should you not make that assumption that you are going to have this gene? Like, how do you recommend navigating those waters?
So most of the problems in life come from trauma as a child. Yep. So if you're seen in this household, there's a good chance. The first thing we need to do is start dialogue as early as 8 or 9 years old. Educate, because if I knew I was the alcoholism in the family, I would never have touched it. And the guys, by the way, the alcoholics and addicts who never took alcohol or drugs, never even touch it, they're the guys running Google and Apple, by the way. They're the fucking smartest guys in the room, because that's the addicted brain. They always want more. The only difference is I took the first drink. So I need to get that communication going. Girls ask me all the time, why did I always attract the bad guys? I go, what? Well, he seemed a nice guy, and then all of a sudden was dating, and we got engaged, and then he's an alcoholic, and then he beat me last week. It's like, let's go back to trauma. What happened when you was a kid? What happened? Well, I saw my dad beat my mom. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why you attract them guys all the time. If you see your mom getting battered most nights with your dad, what happens with the mirroring part of the brain is that becomes comfortable because you get used to it. So what happens is you are drawn to a relationship like that because the mirroring part of the brain goes, hey, this is normal. I've seen this all my life. It's normal. Yeah. It's fucking not normal. But that's how the brain works.
Yeah.
So you really have to look at trauma holds the key to everything that we do. Why do you keep going for that job? Why don't you want to succeed? Why are you scared of failure and succeed? Why do you do it's all the trauma of what the past? But the thing is about trauma is it's carried in the subconscious brain and the central nervous system. Now, you won't know about the central nervous system until you collapse. But if you've ever seen a deer hit on the side of the road and not been killed, it will stay motionless for about 5 seconds. Yeah. Then it will jump up. Then it will shake violently for another 5 seconds. Then it'll run on. That car crash does not affect that deer for the rest of his life. But as humans, we don't do that. So we keep all this stuff like down, keep it down, don't talk about it, keep it down, trauma. And then what happens, it's like a zip file on a computer screen. It's there for like years. You go, oh, I wonder what's in there. And you press it and all this shit comes at you at once. Yeah. And you can't handle it. And the only comfort blanket I knew was alcohol, because I saw alcohol in the house every single day. We had a freaking full-size bar in the house. We used to live on the project. We still had a bar, but then the bar cost more than the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just crazy.
What about people who, I know people who are in the program have either gotten treatment or like have accepted that they definitely need treatment because this dominates their entire life. But what about people who it's not a matter of the inability to control, or maybe it is, but like, what about people who they only drink on weekends? Maybe they skip a weekend, whatever. It's nothing about like frequency or drinking at home by themselves or anything like that. But when they drink, even if it's once a month, they turn into this like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing where they are a fucking nightmare. I know some people like that. And like, what do you attribute that to? Like, why is it that I am able to get pretty hammered and not become an abusive asshole, and the guy next to me, who maybe even is like a similar size, we go drink for drink and he turns into a fucking nightmare? Like, what's happening there?
The Jekyll and Hyde is very interesting. You said that because that's what we become. So the guy drinking once a week who gets like that, or once a month who gets like that, will over time become every night, and he'll do that every night, become crazy. So again, we go back to our lineage, we go back to our trauma, we go back to what we've seen, what we've been through, what our father is, what his father was like. It all carries down to the actions that we do today. So yeah, it's alcohol should take you to a place where you enjoyment. Now, I know a lot of people as teenagers get violent. They like fighting and a lot of stuff. That wears off as you're going into your 20s and 30s. And if it doesn't, then again, we have to look at what's going on here. There's something going on. But most people are violent because they're acting out what they've seen. So let me give you a little scenario. How we act out and how we think familiar places is our home. A girl went missing in Manchester back in the day. 17-year-old girl was snatched off the streets by this guy, drove away, manhunt, huge in England, couldn't find her. About 3 weeks later, scaled it back, and then everyone thought she was dead. 6 or 7 months later, this policeman was behind a car, had a bashed-in signal light indicator, so he pulled him over. Now, in England, you don't need search warrants or anything like that. Well, not back in the day. I'm not sure now. I've been away for so long. Sure. So he searched his car and he found a stolen screwdriver. So again, if you find stolen items in the vehicle, you can go back to the house legally and search the house. What else have you got? You haven't just stole this, a one-off. So they go back to the house, and again, they're finding stuff, still got the tags on it. No receipts, I stole that. And they come across this box, 4 foot high, about 7 foot wide. And he said, "You've got more stuff in there. We know you've got more stuff in there." And he said, no, that's not mine. I don't want to do it. So they smashed the lock off. And they opened the top, and there was the girl that had been snatched 7 months prior. She was battered. She was bruised. He used to get her out every day, abuse her, feed her, put her back every day for 7 months. He did that. So they opened the box, and she was there, battered and bruised, but she was alive. And she held her hand up, and the policewoman took her hand and helped her step out the box. What's the first thing she did, Dave? She got back in the box.
Oh, wow.
That's how our mind processes these things. So same thing with prisoner of wars, especially in Japan. These are the things you do. The horrible situation. And this is why abused wives stay in the situation. That's the only thing what else are they going to do? They daren't dream anything else because this is what we're stuck in. And it's the same with addicts and alcoholics, is we don't know anything else. So we go back to our comfort blanket. My comfort blanket, once again, was alcohol every single time. And when you cross over to full-blown alcoholism, they can talk about triggers. There's no such thing as triggers when you're an alcoholic. You'll drink when it's raining, when it's sunshiny, when it's night, when it's day. Doesn't make any difference. You will drink because you can't help it. And when you look at the brain as a whole, the hypothalamus, which is part of the brain, this is new research. It tells us to drink. It tells normal people to drink water and eat food. It tells the alcoholics to drink alcohol and go days and weeks without food or water. Sure. So you're up against your brains. So knowledge is key. Knowledge of what you need, a full knowledge of what you're suffering from. We ask most people what's an alcoholic, they'll tell you blatantly, somebody who drinks too much alcohol, somebody who can't control the alcohol. It's got nothing to do with alcohol. Well, 1%. Yeah. All to do with the mind and the trauma and the journey you've had and what you've been brought up in, the surroundings, all the family unit. That's what it's. And we're finally getting into now 2022 new research that will someday cure alcoholism. Sure. Because we all thought it was the alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So I'm curious about your perspective on, this is related to a family member of mine, not by blood, that has since passed. that I wanted to bring up with you. What does the term functional alcoholic mean to you? Is that an oxymoron? Is that a real thing? Do you feel like that is a separate category than the person who, completely blacks out and, maybe the cravings are the same, but one person is able to like function to a certain acceptable level and the other person is just blacks out?
If you're a functional alcoholic, then you're a full-blown alcoholic that can function right now. That's all it means. And yeah, it's real. I went through it for quite a long time. So alcoholics don't just drink straight away from alcoholics. They go through normal drinking, heavy drinking, abuse, and alcoholism. That the stages you have to go through. So a functional alcoholic is somebody who holds down a 9-to-5 job or, holds down a family, but he's drinking during the day and, still getting away with it. So that there is such a thing, but it will always end up in full-blown alcoholism and you will always lose out to the alcohol. There's never one success case in the last 100 years that we know of that's ever done that. So yeah, functioning alcoholics. Now, there's a fine line between functioning alcoholics and functioning abusers of alcohol. And what we find is the abusers of alcohol take Mondays off because they've had a hard night the night before.
Sure.
All them excuses. The alcoholic will turn up every single time looking good, all looking good, but eventually it will take toll. And that invisible line that we cross will take him to chronic.
So this family member that I'm talking about, that I'm not going to specifically identify, but I've witnessed this multiple times where he would wake up and his morning routine was like, wake up, turn off your alarm, take a piss, go to the bathroom, start making coffee, and pour a pint glass of Jim Beam on the rocks. And I would watch him put down 2 of those, before breakfast was over, and then he would go drive to work or go meet friends for lunch or something. And if you didn't witness the consumption, you wouldn't know that he specifically abused alcohol, although he was in terrible shape. I mean, he had the telltale signs of his barrel chested and how his gut was formed and everything. And it did lead to him. I'm speaking out of school here, but from what I understood is that this chronic long-term daily massive alcohol abuse led to brain swelling and organ swelling that led to him having crazy strokes, biting off parts of his, or seizures, biting off parts of his tongue. He shattered his shoulder just from how hard he was gyrating in bed. And that was the beginning of the end. But my question to you is, if you don't, is it harder to identify the problem and address the problem if this is a person who, if you don't see the consumption and you're maybe just making guesses off of why they're in such terrible physical shape, but their behavior is fine. And they are, I'm saying functioning in air quotes, but they can do their job. They can carry conversations. They don't slur their words. They don't get violent. They don't how do you approach that? I feel like it's much easier, although scary, when you're dealing with someone who is undeniably out of control. Definitely. But with this family member, I was just curious about how do you approach that? Do you have to get the family involved? Because I know for a fact this man would not have admitted that he had a problem, period.
Yeah. And it's the tolerance. He has a high tolerance for years and years of drinking. The other thing is it would go down as brain swelling, not alcoholism, that's why the figures are nowhere near where they should be. Yeah. But yeah, it's very hard because they're the guys that do this day in, day out, So again, you have to question whether they're an alcoholic or whether they're a binge drinker or whether they just have a high tolerance. Because remember, at the beginning, I said that it's not the quantities that we drink. It's not the time we drink. Yeah. It's just, that doesn't make you an alcoholic. So in my case, if I was to diagnose, I would say that he abused alcohol with a huge tolerance because if he didn't, his behavior would change.
Sure.
But that guy gets up, he'd be getting up at 2:00 in the morning to drink if he was an alcoholic, but he doesn't. He waits sensibly till 6:00, let's say, makes the coffee, pours the Jim Beam. Phenomenal. I wish I could do that every day.
Right.
But of course, long-term effects is, your body starts to close down because what you're putting inside your body is a toxin. It's poison to the human body. So over a matter of time, it's going to kill you.
So, and this is leading up to what I really want to dive into is that it's basically, it's a thinking problem, not a drinking problem, is that, this did either directly contribute to, or if not, is the primary cause of his death. And I know that my family wanted to address this, but it would have required him accepting that he had a problem. But again, because of the functional nature of his alcoholism, I'm just curious about what, if I was able to engage you back then when this was happening, what would you have recommended in approaching this? Because again, his behavior was fine, but undeniably his body was shutting down. No one can consume that much of alcohol and that frequently and be okay. And he should still be alive today, but he's not. So how do you recommend approaching that? Is it more of we need to approach this from a health and well-being standpoint? Do we focus on the psychological? Do you focus specifically on the drinking? Like, how do you tap into something like that?
Well, you can focus on all three, but if the person that's drinking every day doesn't want to stop, and he doesn't show any signs, the mortgage is being paid, everyone's driving nice cars, he's turning up every day for work. If he doesn't want to stop, there's nothing you can do. You know, we get it all the time. You know, my husband, he's drinking too much. Can you help him? Does he want help? Well, no, he says then we can't help him. Okay. You know, you have to come to a state while you're drinking that much and going, I don't want to live like this anymore. But again, functional alcoholics, they do want to live like that, because they're the very few that can get away with it. Now, most, I'd say 90% of functional alcoholics turn out into full-blown alcoholics. So he was how old was he?
When he passed, I would say he was 68.
Yeah, he was going to get away all his life until he started to close down. Good luck to him. I wouldn't touch him, because I'd have a conversation with him. No, I don't want to drink. You know, drinking too much. Yep, I know I do. It's my only pleasure in life. Any problems at work? Nope. Ever been arrested? Nope. Any DUIs? Nope. Carry on, my good man. Okay. That's my thing to him.
Sure. So looking at, again, I guess then the other type of alcoholic that we're talking about here, two questions. One, at the point that you are seeing someone, are they usually in the neighborhood of hitting bottom? And have they accepted, I guess, three-part question. Are they in the neighborhood of bottoming out, hitting rock bottom? Have they typically accepted the fact that they have a problem? And before they see you, are they of the mindset that this can be a psychological, that this can be handled from a thinking approach instead of a drinking approach? Or is that a huge hurdle for you to get through?
The first two, yes, definitely. The last one is harder, because they do come. Listen, nobody wants to come to me to sit here because they like my face or my conversation. So by the time people end up, they're done. They usually tried everything, been in treatment centers, and they come here. And it's the mindset. It's you can change. We can take you to a place psychologically, spiritually, and physically that you've never been before in your life. And you can be a success of whatever you want to do. But it's people in general don't really like change. So alcoholics hate it. The alcoholic brain hates change. Yeah. You know, it hates not being able to see the future or know what's going to happen. So that's the final hurdle, is convincing them. See, the bottom line is nobody knows how powerful we are. Like, you don't know how powerful you are. No, I do, because I've been through my work over the last 30 years. Yeah. But, you know, if me and you could swap places right now, your podcast would be higher than Joe Rogan's, because you see the power that you have, but we don't believe it. We go, we kind of do. Oh, I have a good podcast. Oh, really? You don't believe you're going to be bigger than him. There's no fucking way you're going to be bigger than him. The real deal is you can be. It's mindset. It's all about mindset. You know, how bad you want this deal. So once we give him a glimmer of that, like, we'll go to any lengths, man. I hired a fucking Irish bar one night in Dallas, because this patient of mine is 18 years old, never had a girlfriend, never thinks he's going to get a girlfriend. You know, he's slightly dyslexic, a little bit of Asperger's, but functional. And we hired a pub, and we stuck it with 12 girls, along with other people in the pub. We had 12 girls that we paid in a part of the pub we closed down. And I took him in. And I said, which girl do you like most? And he said, that one over there. So come on, we'll talk to her. He's like, no, I can't move. No. Well, she'd been primed that he drives a Mustang. So when we walked over there and sat down, he was so nervous. And the girl said, I can't stay long. I've got this new Mustang. What? You have a Mustang? So then she got chatting. Anyway, he's got married and has kids and everything now. So fantastic. Very, very powerful. Yeah. Like, who says you can't do it? Who says? You know, me and my wife got married 7 years ago, been married twice each, and it's just a pain in the ass. The second day we're married, a little argument, a little tiny argument. And my wife said, well, I said, I don't like marriage like this. And my wife said, that's just the way marriage goes. And I said fucking who? Who's making these rules up? I don't like these rules. Yeah. I'm going to change the rules to me. And that's what I do every day. I live a life beyond my wildest dreams, because first of all, I don't give a shit what you think of me. I want to say that again, guys. When you drop that, your life really takes up. I don't give a shit what you think of me. It doesn't hurt. I'm not bothered. It doesn't hurt me. And secondly, I have a brand new life that I absolutely adore today. Yeah. I'm powerful. I like to go back to the spiritual side. I have a spiritual. I asked my God, I said, hey, give me a platform when I came over to America. My last show 7 weeks ago, 18 million people were listening. I asked for it. You know, again, quantum physics. Fucking walk over and take the position. Sure. Begging for it, or can I please walk over and take it? There's another instance as well where this woman was working with chronic alcoholic. We got her through. We got in the interview. She got the job, and she used to be in a board meeting every day. And she said, "I'm so scared. I know nobody knows me." And I said, "Ask a question." She said, "What do you mean? Ask a question? What question? Doesn't make any difference. Ask one." Yeah, can you tell me how this works or that? Or are we going to do this next week? And within a week, everybody knew her name. And people were asking her. It's just psychology. It's just a basic human being, but we don't know how powerful we are.
So you're really tapping into the entire human experience, but you have a specific area of focus. But I mean, I'm thinking about things like confidence and depression and body dysmorphia and certainly the people being their own worst enemy and doubting themselves. Like I think a lot of times, obviously people do grow up in some pretty harrowing circumstances, and there can be external factors that have a huge negative adverse impact on your life. But for the most part, we are the ones in our own way. And that's super fucking hard to get over. Like, I being devil's advocate, I could definitely see someone, especially someone struggling with a problem, to the point where if they accept the fact that they have a problem, which means they've seen the wreckage, they know and understand the consequences, but that's still not enough to get them to stop. Just being devil's advocate, I could totally see some of those people being like, fucking bullshit. Like, bullshit that it's mind over matter. Bullshit that it's a thinking problem. I am a fucking mess, and if I don't drink, I will explode, and I am connecting it to the bottle. Like, I'm very curious to know how do you even crack that nut initially when you're dealing with someone who's possibly going through the absolute worst chapter of their entire life? Because that's a lot. I would imagine a lot of people associate with it is the drinking. It is the drinking. If I don't drink, how do you get them? How do you do that? How do you get through that?
I tell them my story first of all. I identify it. Tell them about the bottle. You touched the bottle. Everything went away. It's just like, it's not true. Everything you've been told in life is not true. It's just like, there's better ways of living. And what people get into, just like the woman in the box, is to get into this rut and they go, well, fuck it. That's my life. This is it. This is how it's going to go. It's bullshit. It's not true. Your self-sabotaging mind is telling you that you'll never be blonde enough, you'll never be thin enough, you'll never be rich enough, and you'll never be fucking tall enough. That's how the brain works on normal human being. It's not true. You can do anything that you want to in the world. Just put the effort and believe in yourself. Watch your self-dialogue, and start. Look, I went to bed last night. I was 19. I woke up. I'm 60. Right. I said it once. I'll say it again. The time is that quick. What the fuck you got to lose?
Yeah,
I signed a contract in Dallas once for half a floor of a medical building. It was like $2 million. And people were like, "Oh my God, how do you sleep at night?" I said, "Good. What are they going to do? Take the fucking office off me? Well, it's not the end of the world. Dare to dream. Sure. Dare to dream. Try that little business. Go for that job you never thought you'd get. Go for it. Everyone else is the same. That's what we don't realize. We think we're all so different. Oh, I'm the only one scared in this room. Everybody's scared. Believe me. Yeah. Everybody's in the same situation, and we think that we're all special because we can't talk or we can't get that job, or I'm not educated. You don't need a fucking college degree. You don't need a college degree. Sure. Okay. Yeah. You just don't need one. Period. Most people I know got college degrees are false anyway. They've got it printed off the internet or something. Nobody cares anymore. It's what you can do today. It's the entrepreneurial blood in your body that will make businesses. We don't build businesses. Build a fucking empire. Come on, get up. Let men stand up and be men. Everybody needs leaders. Why isn't it you listening at home right now? I don't. Fucking people are waiting. People are dying at home because you can't get off your fucking ass because you don't think you're good enough to do it. You are good enough. You're not listening to this podcast by mistake. Yeah. You're listening because somebody's trying to give you a message. So that's what I tell them. And 99.9% of people, they believe it. I make them believe it. If I tell you a lie, you might believe it. If I tell you a lie often enough, you're going to believe it. Hey, but listen, if I tell you real often enough, I'm going to start to believe it. Psychology 101. So show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Yep. Surround yourself with them guys that force you to take that next step. If you're on 20 grand a year, you want to earn 40, hang around the guys that earn 40. If you hang around 9 depressed people, you will become the number 10. That's how the mind works. And that's how the body. Be attracted. Be attracted to success. Be attracted. The law of attraction.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. But it's true.
Yeah.
It's freaking, and once you get that key, it's so true.
Yeah.
You know, when I came off the streets, I was washing up at this factory, washing stuff that, you know, people discarded and parts and cups. And that was my first job, man. That's my first fucking job.
Sure.
And then I'd sweep the car park and sweep the floor. That was my first job.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I'm not saying this I'm not saying this, guys, to be boastful. You've only got to do a research on me and see how much I'm worth. But listen, I have $1 million in my checking account today. In my checking account, that's not retirement. Wow, that's stupid. Yeah, it's fucking stupid, but you can do it. I'm nothing. If you think I'm nothing special, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
I'm just a drunk guy who couldn't look after his fucking kids.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Come on, anybody can do it, man. It's not. Why? If not you, who?
Sure.
Just keep asking yourself that question.
Very well said. I have definitely personally experienced the law of attraction, and that basically I like emulating has always been a huge thing for me. So I think you and I share a love for music, and a long time ago, I accepted the fact that there will always be someone better than me and substantially better than me. And I came to terms with that and embraced it. It doesn't fuck with me. I take encouragement and enthusiasm that if they can do this, if they can hone their skill set and get to this level, that should inspire me, not make me feel inferior. And in the same way, that's how you should feel about the people that you love and surround yourself with, and that has very positive impacts. I am curious about when you add the trauma layer on top of that, especially if it's current trauma. And I'd like to give you an example of someone I know has struggled with alcoholism for a long time, and it went unchecked. And a lot of it had to do with her being surrounded by enablers and people who wanted to be enabled. Like, they love the fact that she gets blackout drunk because they want to do that too and not feel bad about it. But she was forced to deal with it because she started having like very severe heart problems that led to her getting checked out. And it just became abundantly clear, like, the body doesn't lie. You can lie and say, oh, I only have 2 drinks a night or something, but your body tells a different story. So she goes through traditional rehab, and from what I know, did well, but and went back to her normal life. She lived by herself. That was a big concern for her for a while, is that she wouldn't be able to live alone without giving into the temptation. She's holding a job. She's going back to school. But in the last year, she was raped, and it has completely undone everything. And she has gone back to maybe worse drinking than before. And she knows it's a problem. We've talked about it, and I don't even know how to like approach the conversation with her, because I don't know if she should be going back to treatment, or because of this whole new element that's there that is triggering, or at least is associated with, or is in tandem with this urge to relapse. Like, I guess the question is, do you believe in traditional rehab? Do you think that when you layer the self-doubt with trauma, current trauma, is there a different path that needs to be taken, and how would you approach that kind of scenario?
The 90% of treatments out there are bullshit. They'll take the same patient in 5 or 6 times for $30,000 a month, keep relapsing. So your choice of rehab treatment, it's got to be real careful. There's only a bunch of us know what they're doing. The rest want your money. It's a business. If sick people stop going in, they've got bankrupt. So you got to be careful with that. Rape is a very, very deep subject and wounding things that happen to you, that needs a special kind of trauma specialist to take that away. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm approaching it because if I was approaching it, first of all, I don't believe in treatment. I think everybody, hence our telehealth, that's all we do is telehealth. You should recover in your own room, on your own environment, in your own house, whatever it is, and be careful who you hang around. But definitely recovering in her own house and just walking through that. I mean, yeah, I can see she's doing really well. But listen, here's the deal. Let's just forget the rape a second. Yeah. Let's go back to the enabling and family. Yeah. I don't care who you are or what kind of life you're from. There's always at least one person in your family that does not want you to succeed. Because if you do, then the spotlight then will shine on them.
Sure.
So there's one person in the family want to keep you sick. All close, really close friends. They need you to be sick. Wives often need husbands to be sick because they have that, I want to look after him, I'm doing fine, the rescuer kind of deal.
Yes.
I know that was my first wife. And once I got sober, you know, she didn't want to speak. She never spoke to me again. So yeah, it's a bunch of things. It really is. But poor girl, man, damn. How old is
she is 32.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
It's really brutal. And I guess this is where my mind is at, is like exactly what you said. Like, you want to avoid the pitfalls of you know, treatment, rehab, whatever. Like, what do you recommend? Like, how do these people, especially in the throes of this trauma and misery, like, what is the right way to be vetting the services that you're considering? Because I know me, I would just want to do the lowest hanging fruit, easiest, like whatever. It's the closest thing to my house, or like, and that's fucking hard to like be more calculated when you're just like, I am a mess. I don't want to live. I don't want to wake up. Like, how do you recommend that people suffering with this, or the loving people in their network, approach vetting to determine what's going to be the right resource for them?
Well, the first thing, one of the things we do, and nobody else in the world does this, is we offer a money back guarantee. If you drink or go depressed again, we'll refund your money. Never happened yet. But yeah, you have to vet them, ask them questions. You know, if my friend comes in here, what's your success rate? And they might say, oh, it's 70%. Can you back that up? And if it doesn't work, can I have my money back? Oh no, you drop that guy. Sure. Go somewhere else. And I know that when if we took her on, we do a 90-day program, 1 hour a day in your own environment. I would match her with somebody. It'll be a female. And I don't mean to be coarse by this, guy, so please forgive me, but I'm just giving you it real. It will be one of my female counselors who's been raped in the past. That's just the way it is. And again, with the alcoholic, 1 against 1, you can come out of this. We can get her out of this, and she can live an amazing life, because that victim thing, and it's horrible, and it's not your fault, but our mind goes there after a period of time. Like, oh my God, it's horrible, that bastard, we don't do it, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, because nobody's listening or we don't get help, we start looking at ourselves and go, oh my God, was I to blame? Once we do that, you're on a dark spiral down, and anything can happen. So dialogue, help, professional people, get it back to normal. Like we've hardly ever failed. It's when if somebody, when people relapse here, which is very seldom, I lose sleep overnight. It's like, I don't give a fuck what I have to do. You're staying sober and having a great life. End of story.
For sure.
So, and it's all about once somebody's in suffering, in pain, and at that point where they can't come out of that dip of depression or manic or suicidal, once you see another human being that's been through you, it gives you hope. And that's what we're all about. It's just about hope. You know, I know me and Freddie Mercury used to have some really cool chats after session, and he was a great philosopher. We'd talk about life, and some of the stuff he told me I hold dear to my heart today, because I could identify him. And he was talking about being gay, and I was talking about not fitting in at school, and always be the last to pick for the football team and all that stuff. And that's the stuff they need. The actual act, they have no control over it, but they think they do, and they don't, man. I mean, it's horrible, really horrible.
I'm curious given like what we were discussing about the law of attraction, and given your musical background, do you, in retrospect, do you think it was dangerous for you to be spending time with professional musicians and rock stars who can very frequently be enablers or living a similar problematic lifestyle? Like, was that problematic for you? And if it was, do you think that there could have been a way of approaching it in a safe way, or do you really just have to make that calculated decision? Like, listen, the stove is hot, don't touch the stove.
I think if I wouldn't have been at Abbey Road and around all the musicians and backstage, and I actually stepped on stage with Queen one day at Main Road, Manchester Football Stadium. Awesome. The second guitarist was sick. Third guitarist was not fit. He couldn't play the full, so I went on for Radio Gaga. It was phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Yeah, if it wasn't through them days, I'm not too sure whether I would have ended up homeless, whether it would have caught me before, or would have got help before. But you get this delusion thing that nobody can touch you. You know, when you're going to the Savoy Hotel with Elton John into his penthouse suite, you think that's it. There's nothing can touch me. I'm Iron Man. You know, it's unbelievable. Yeah. But so I'll never know about that. But I think I would have taken this, because that kicked off my speed and cocaine. Never touched heroin, never injected. But it took off that. So what I would do is I would try and come off alcohol and go on cocaine for a week and think I'm sober. Then I go back to alcohol because it's my comfort blanket. So yeah, very hard to say. But I think looking back, the time I had was amazing. So I wouldn't swap it for nothing. But the alcohol and drug abuse while I was there was horrendous. And how I got through college, I paid a lot of people off. I paid a lot of people to do work for me.
Sure.
You know, it was a disgrace. I was a disgrace, but I was a fucking great bass player because I was playing from the age of 5 or 6. And often they'd see me in the house and I would always wear my bass around when I was eating dinner. Used to drive my mum crazy. Breakfast, I'd have the bass around I mean, I was just playing it 24 hours a day. So when I went to Abbey Road and there's like 20 other guys in the 20s and 30s, seasoned bass playing job that would look at me and laugh. I walked in and blew them away because I'm an alcoholic. Sure. I'll fucking do something or I don't. There's no half measures for me. You know, it's like I'm the best addictionologist in the world. Well, can you be 4th best? Fuck no. Why would I? It's either all or nothing. And that's been most of my traits over my life. Because when I came here, people were like, you want to be on TV? You want to be a millionaire and put a book out there? It's impossible. You're fucking English. You can't even do that. For thousands of years, and not able to do that. Check, and check.
Yeah, man.
Because that's the mind I have. It's like,
I love that.
Bad enough. You know, an old guy once said to me, I said, I want to do all these things in life. And he turned to me and looked me in the eye and said, how fucking bad do you want it? And it's always stuck with me. And I say the same to my guys today. How fucking bad do you want this? I want it, Rob. I can feel it. I can taste it. Well, stop fucking around and walk over and take that fucking position, for God's sake. Enough already. There's people out there dying, waiting for you to lead. It's not about you. It's about the power that we have. Every single person listening to this in the world. It's about the power that we have and how we can turn that around for the benefit of other people. You know, if you have a God in your life or a spiritual guy, whatever, he wants to give us so much, but we ask for so little. Oh, if I can just pay the rent this month. Fuck that. You want to buy the house? Ask him to buy the house. Ask someone to give you a house. You'll get it. I always remember the guy on Family Fortunes, the black guy. Can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So Steve Harvey, he tells a story in between. Every time they stop filming in between sets, he tells the audience like a nice story. And he talks about being broke, and his mom was being thrown out of rented property time and time again. So one of his big ambitions when he started being a comedian on the road is he wanted to be famous. So he got a little bit famous, and he wanted 10 acres of land. So nobody could ever throw him off his property again. Yeah. So he asked God for it. He said, I want 20 acres of land. And by some freak thing, like you went to see this land, it was too expensive. This other guy needed a quick sale and got like 20 acres for the same as 10. It was crazy, but it happened. And his higher power, God, spiritual, the universe. So he said to him, he said, hey, God, thank you for the 20 acres. I know 2 guys in prison that are never going to get out. Can I have their 20 acres? And for some crazy stuff, he owns 400 acres now, or 4,000 acres or something, because he kept asking for this shit and believed he'd get it. Yeah. And that again is what life's all about. You know, it's just like, you don't need a college degree to be a millionaire. In fact, Tesla, was it Tesla thing? I can't remember. They won't take you if you've got a college degree. You don't need a college degree to get that job. Yeah. You know, entrepreneurs love it. You can make, if you've got savvy about computers and anything, you can make $5,000 a month easy. You know, that's how that you'll never get a better time in the world to make that break to start to be somebody. Never. This is it, guys. Yeah. 2022 is it. If you don't make a move 2022, fuck it. Start drinking, start taking drugs, fall out of life. Because this is it. You've never had so many opportunities in all your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to explore the concept and the importance of God with you. I personally identify as I would actually call myself like a staunch atheist. I take no joy in cutting down other people's faith or religion. I mean, the only time I have an opinion on it is when it's tied to something that is like objectively horrific. Yeah. The way that the LGBT community is treated quite frequently from that community. But in general, do you ever listen to Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard?
I have. Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
So he openly talks about his recovery, and he has, in the 4 years he's been doing the show, he actually relapsed, and he talks about everything. He talks about how it's rooted in trauma, how he was molested as a kid. I love his vulnerability, and I love how open he is about it. And these are like really sensitive stories, including the bridges he burned and the people he fucked with and the relationships he destroyed. And I feel like other people hearing that, even just hearing it, period, let alone knowing that there can be a very successful, fulfilling, happy life on the other side, is really important. And that's a huge public service. So I love the show for that reason. One thing he specifically talks about is that he's gone through the 12 steps, and he very frequently talks about the giving, I believe the term is giving yourself up to a higher power, is one of the 12 steps. And he also identifies as an atheist, and he talks about how he like positions this in his mind in terms of like really focusing on the higher power, or just accepting the fact that he doesn't have control over everything, but he still has this pretty firm line in the sand in terms of like the concept of God, a grand creator, someone in heaven, whatever. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the importance of the concept and the construct of God, or a higher power. Like, do you feel like having a specific concept of like a Christian Lord is a more fundamental resource for like Steve Harvey's approach, or can it be a more ethereal, philosophical, existential approach to the universe?
No, I don't believe in, religion. I don't think it's man-made. It's caused more wars than anything else in the world. Yeah. But I do believe that there's somebody who's been looking after me. So what we say here is, religion, and for those people who don't want to go to hell, they're scared. Spirituality, you've probably heard it for those guys that already been to hell, but they don't want to go back. So no, we don't. I don't go to church. No, I don't carry a cross around my neck. I'm not going to pass a Bible. I know there's somebody to look after. And in my world, a spiritual connection is very important for my success and my, continued sobriety. So I do have this. There's 26,000 gods, I mean, now people, if you believe in God, it's got to be like, the Christian God. It says who? There's no hard rules here, guys. I know somebody's looking after me. Might be my Uncle Bob. I don't know. But I call it God, but it's not a traditional, it's just so many things have happened in my life that I've got to look somewhere else in coincidence. I just have to. So no, you don't have to go down that path. I believe that past people looking after us, something it is all the time. So yeah, people get hung over with this, this powerful, like, Catholic or, God. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. I believe that why are these people getting killed? Why are children dying? Cancer in children. What the fuck's that all about?
Yeah.
And you can go on down that route. So I do believe there is my God, my spiritual God that looks after me, and I depend on a lot. But each to his own. I mean, it's like the mask thing. It's like, it's like in Texas. Greg Abbott masks off like fucking 6 months ago. Wasn't having any of that. It's like, it's your choice. I mean, open carry in Texas. You don't need a license. Don't need shit. You can stick a gun on your hip and walk down the street. It's your choice. I love Texas. I love Texas for a couple of reasons. You can turn red. You can turn right on a red light. It's genius. And the second is you can carry a gun.
Yeah.
If someone comes in the house, you can shoot them dead. Cool. Good job. Let's move on. Just gives you that peace of mind. So I think it's the same thing with the spiritual connection is if you find one, it's amazing. But if you don't, and you're an atheist, it's amazing.
Okay. But do you encourage you're dealing with someone, it's a relatively new patient, and they're just looking for answers, and they're clearly looking to you for answers, but then they also want to know like, is it medication? Is it, cessation therapy? Do I need to lock myself in a fucking room? And do I need this spiritual element in my life specifically for people who don't? Do you provide guidance or insight there in terms of like, this is a good element to have in your life, and how do you find that?
Definitely. I always start on the people who passed away. Your mom's died, your dad, the short way, the best for me. Well, she's probably guiding you now. I mean, we just don't know. I never give someone a Bible and go, hey, this is your God, and if you don't believe in this, then I can't work with you. I mean, there's so many directions that we go in, but that big book, I love the big book, but it says you can choose a God as you understand him with a capital H. So it has to be some sort of God. Like it's 26,000, fucking pick one. So it's like people get hung over it and really het up over it. It's like, it's not a big fucking deal. Someone has to take the compulsion away to drink, and it can't be me. And no human power can help me, because the book said that we're in place beyond human aid. So what the hell are we going to do? Believe in something. I don't give a fuck what it is. Believe in it, because someone's saving your ass right now. That's how we start that conversation. And it ain't a big deal. Nobody needs to know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows my beliefs. Well, I tell them because I'm a big mouth and I speak all over the place, but they're normal person.
Yeah.
No one needs to know shit.
Yeah.
Say a little prayer, say thank you to Uncle Billy. And, it's just amazing. Just find something outside yourself. And it's always good to get out of self because you can see clearly. And try. And there's loads of mind things you can try. Get up in the morning. Anybody listens to this, try this tomorrow. I got $100 somewhere to give you if you don't work. Get up tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and say as enthusiastic as you can, today is going to be a great fucking day. If you have a bad day, contact me. I'll send you $100. It's impossible.
I love that. I think it's great. It's like manifesting, right? Like it's you're putting that out in the world and you're driving that bus, and yeah, for sure. So
there's an amazing movie called I Feel Pretty. And if guys, you haven't seen it and you're looking for this, how the mind can work, you need to watch that because basically what it's about is an overweight girl who wants the dream, wants the job at the model agency on reception, but she can't get it because, wants a boyfriend, but she
This is Amy Schumer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she falls in a gym, bangs her head, and she gets up and she looks in the mirror and she's this skinny girl, beautiful girl. And then she starts going for that. She has got confidence to go for that boyfriend. Then she goes for that job at that model agency. And don't think everyone else sees her like this, a big girl, but she sees herself as being thin. And she gets that job and she gets that boyfriend, and only because she thought she was thin. Can you imagine the powerful mind if you thought you were worth it, how far you could go in this world? That's
absolutely. I remember that movie. I remember hearing Amy talk about how that movie was getting shit on because like people were taking too simplistic of an approach to it of just like, oh, well, if you believe you're skinny, then the world will like you more. And it was like, no, I completely, that's a great example because you can look at it just as like a fun comedy, but like it really does instill the power of the mind, and your life being successful and happy always starts with you because you're going to be the first person to get in your way. And I thought that had a great message. I want to be
person that's not going to get that job, and that's you. There's only one person that's not going to ask that girl. You miss every shot that you don't take. So fuck it, take it. Believe in yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we will wrap this up. I absolutely love talking to you. I'd love to pick your brain more about your musical days. I really do appreciate you taking the time. How can people get in contact with you and get your materials, get your guidance? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Any search engine, Dr. Robb Kelly. The first 5 pages are all about me and where I am, what I'm doing, all the social media, Dr. Robb Kelly. The website, robbkelly.com. I spell my name with 2 B's, so ROBBKELLY.com. Brand new website up today.
Nice.
So you'll see that. There is a book on there that I'd like everyone to buy, and I'll tell you a reason why. I don't see a dime off that book, nor I will ever see a dime off that book. All the proceeds, not the profits. All the profits go to charity. There, by the time you bastards have taken all the money, there's $10 going to charity. All the proceeds, it's $9, go back out to the community, the people that are struggling. So if you can buy it from there or Walmart, please buy it. If you don't like it, text me. I'll refund your money. You can keep the book. It's just all about helping other people. And just text me, message me, whatever you got to do. Let's talk, guys. Dialogue. Remember,
what book is that?
You might see me on TV. You might see me, all sort of them. I'm the guy from Moss Side in Manchester. That's Beirut with Lights back in Manchester, who's a struggling alcoholic who sold his alcohol for kids. I'm always stood in the trenches. I'm no bigger than I should be. I just have a platform that I can spread the message more. So if you need my help for anything, 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. It's not my secretary's or my desk or my assistant. You'll get through to me. So if I'm not there, leave a voicemail or text me. I will get back to you. Let's walk through this together. It's all about giving back, guys.
I really, really appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time, but I also appreciate, as someone who has many loved ones in my life that struggle with this tremendously in a variety of different ways, I appreciate you being so vocal about it and taking fresh, realistic, no bullshit approaches to addressing and solving and continuing to deal with something that really does plague our society and it can be a very harrowing part of the human experience. So thank you so much for what you do. I really appreciate it. I want to
leave you with this. So the guys listening at home, I want to leave you with this. Think about this for a second. So Gordon Ramsay, the chef off TV, is a good friend of mine, was sat in his kitchen one day and he's cooking up something for us. And he turned around to me and I was at the table. He's in the kitchen. He said, "Hey, Rob, do you know why I'm the best chef in the world?" And I said, "Because you can cook real well." He said, "Fuck no, because I tell everybody I am." Think about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Robb, thank you so much. You're a fascinating character. I can't wait to get to know more about you. Thank you everyone for listening to the MindMeld podcast with Dave Perry. All of the things that have been mentioned on the show will be in the show notes, including websites and phone numbers and anything like that. Please, if you're even considering reaching out to someone, please do it. There's no shame in it. In fact, it's the gateway to a much, much better, happier life for you and your loved ones. And again, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on wherever you listen to podcasts, follow on social, wherever you use social. And again, Dr. Robb, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Good to speak to you, Dave.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All my people that know I got 'em down in the game. Give 'em my